Hello, everyone. How's it going tonight? I just want to say praise God, and everything God does is amazing, and so much love that so nice to know that it's always there, and that door that's someone behind is knocking, just waiting. It's always there, that opportunity, and it's inside you. All you need is inside you. So nice, and just spread it and share it, and it's all for the glory of God. It's all for God, and it's just amazing to be a part of that, and so humbling to just try and express it without sounding too arrogant or narcissistic. But it's what life's really supposed to be about, and searching for the truth. Well, I'll just try to plan it down and put it down on paper more, and trying to figure out what else is there that's part of this revealed truth I've accepted, basically, and believe firmly, and just keeps growing daily. But I'm going to get into some of this timeline I've been doing, trying to pinpoint exactly when Abraham was on this planet, because your answer book doesn't always pinpoint exact times, and it's hard to actually go back in time and reference so many different things. Like there's a ton of old references, clay tablets that they keep finding in different ancient cities, and trying to decipher them. And there's so many that I've been reading about. I've been watching and written some of them down, but they're not just clay tablets, but like the Dead Sea Scrolls. A lot of people are familiar with those, and how many of those there actually were, and just the information that's out there, that it all points to the same stuff, really, and that there were a lot of ancient civilizations that popped up in the Fertile Crescent, have you, Mesopotamia, Syria, Syria, all that around the Persian Gulf to the Mediterranean. I got some maps, and we'll turn this around and see some this timeline. So it's well, one last thing before that, about the pinpointing the time. You can get lost in explaining how one day can be equivalent to a year. If I was born December 31st in 70, and then you say, well, then January 1st of 1971, that's one day. But if you go back and say, well, from 70 to 71, that could be 1 year. So how one day can equal 1 year, and then you record those different events over time and try to match and overlap from different sources, and the time's not some continuous thing that the Syrians picked up from the Babylonians, or from the Hittites or the Romans. Like, oh, we'll go off of these times. They started on their own here when they basically become a power of the world, or their local world, basically. So anyway, let's see this stuff, and it's pretty cool. Here we go. So I got the time period around, for me, Abraham, and I've written some of the other ones down about how far he can go according to some sources, but I got him here at 201 BC, and I've recorded as how the Bible puts their years, 175 in the middle, you can see. And if you notice, based on what I've come up with, Jacob was born about when Abraham was still alive, and I'm not sure if that's actually in the Bible any, but according to the years, that's what I've come up with, and I don't know if that's accurate by any means or what, but this is what I've tried, and it's been frustrating trying to come up with actual time periods and stuff, because they don't always mix correctly, and there's so many different resources. And I think even if you get to researching about Joseph here, he can be born in a different time period of Jacob's life, depending on how you do the math of what is available in the Bible. And I'm not 100% sure on that, but it's I believe 91 years is supposed to be, but it can also be calculated at 77, I think. But again, You can look up that for yourself and go from there. But either way, history is amazing, and how accurate or true it is. I believe these people existed, and whether or not the lifespans or whatnot were all that long or whatever. I think that if we go back and if you've read the reentry book, there's these 100 staffers that one of them was on here on the planet for over hundreds of thousands of years and was probably revered as a demigod, but then he got wiped out of history for whatever reasons. But basically, these guys and all these empires end up becoming their own kings and recording history. And now a lot of the you know, last couple hundred years, people have been digging it up and call it archaeology, and there's all kinds of interesting stuff that they've been finding. And I got this corner up here of basically the cuneiform tablets and different things that they found, like this Behiston inscription is basically a relief sign carved into a cliffside over by the Zagros Mountains. And got a couple maps down here to show you where that's at. But it's interesting that there's carved in 3 different languages, and they call it Old Persian, Cuneiform, Elamite, or down by Susanna, which is capital Susa, where it was like one of Xerxes' areas back down there in Persian Gulf area. But there's a lot of these places that they're digging up that have found a lot of these cuneiform tablets that they're basically verifying a lot of the names and stories and pinpointing the time periods a little bit better. Like this black obelisk has a few of the Egyptian pharaohs, and I've got those down. So, and I'm sure there might be some years off, depending on how these guys actually calculated, their time period based off of what's available. If the time they're calculating is already erroneous, then there might be a couple years where it can be off still. But anyway, this guy Nimrod was supposed to be a giant builder, and he's probably one of them descendants of the staffers. I take it like the demigods of Greek came from, or Hercules, or whoever. He went around basically building cities, and that'd be a pretty good guy around go do that. In that lifetime he had, must have been more than a few years too. And but he went all around building up Nineveh, which has been around a long time, and Rehoboth, it says, and this IR, I'm not sure if it's a different city than actual where Abraham came from, but there is a city called Uruk, and it's got also another name, Eric and Awarka. I'm sure I don't say them all correctly, but it's been around since 4100 BC, and they did a lot of digs on it and found other tablets and stuff here that have an ancient form of pictograph writing, and they say Neo-Babylonian, but I'm guessing that just means pre or before. Neo means new. So they got all kinds of information I've found in the last few days that just kind of coincides with a lot of stuff, and it's interesting, all this information. But it really, here we go, Tower of Babel. It's also called this Menanke, or House Foundation of Heaven and Earth, and that's supposed to have been in part of Babylon, one of the cities basically where Marduk was. And here's another ziggurats related, or zikkurat, the high place of rays. What that means, when you got a big city, and some of them been, it's known to have like an upper place and a lower place, and these are just Egyptian time periods that are a little bit different on what resource you look at and whatnot. But it's interesting, just kind of correlate with some things. But I call this the controversial years, because not everyone agrees on when these time periods was, and not all sources have the correct times like we discussed or whatnot. And I'm getting there to some celestial events, and these also were recorded. Some, here's one that's a solar eclipse that was recorded by the Assyrians. They did a pretty good job of recording things. And they'd have like what they call a limu, and he would be like this vice regent guy that would once a year they would cast lots and see who got to be the keeper of the records, basically, or like the librarian. Or I'm sure he had other stuff too that he did, but a lot of empires pop up over time of invading all around this area, and that's one thing in this Rancher book talks about this Bestal of Mashavente Melchizedek, and he's mentioned in the Bible as Sage of Salem or King of Righteousness, and supposedly this is where, to me, that Jerusalem started, and his Bestal, according to Rancher book, and what I've come up with internet resources, I'll say 1980 BC to 1886. So in that time period, perhaps all of it, Abraham was there, and a couple of things in the Rancher book says he basically wanted to end his bestow with in mind giving Abraham time to recover or get used to him not being around, and so kind of did that in plenty of time. If these are accurate, even if they're not accurate on the time, they are. There's basically 60 years that went by there, so I mean, it's plenty of time to. And he was doing pretty good by himself before, and he heard about this teacher of spiritual kingdom from by this, I believe his name was Ovid, Phoenician. But so just kind of learning more. It was interesting, and in my grandpa's Bible he gave me, it has a lot of these archaeological supplements, and I'm into the E's and learning one of these things about Ebla, I believe is the name of it. Yeah, Ebla up there. I had like 20,000 clay tablets. This book's, the Bible on the back said that it might take 200 years to finish evacuating the whole this ancient city of Ebla, which was probably one of the big places of what did it say up here? Let's go. Dated to 2500 BC and maybe a little bit later than that. So they had some Semitic language, Paleo Canaanite and Old Canaanite. This guy calls it, but so definitely amazing stuff going on with what's out there, what's researched, and even Abraham found this name Abraham, and if you studied any kind of Hebrew or Greek, I've read some Greek and studied how you say stuff, and a lot of they didn't have an H. It was either a soft sound breath or a rough breath, and that's where the H came in. So it could have a lot of the names that we think are like Abraham. It was probably like Abraham, or certain things like Aaron is Aharon, or whatnot. And I'm sure they even if you went back there had said different things, and had different nicknames for themselves as well. And like here, this Abraham supposedly had these Syrian customs where your sister or wife could be claimed as your wife for status or property inheritance. So it may not necessarily be your sister or your father's child also, because they had a they basically had a matrilineal customs where the line went through the mother, and instead of we go through the father. And it'd be interesting to think of today about losing your name and maybe coming across a relative you didn't know was yours. If you didn't have the same last name, it'd be interesting, but probably happens all the time. Anyway, so the big controversy also is when these Hyksos was around. I don't think I have that spelled right there, but needs an S. I'm have to correct that for sure. But they were around from a certain time when possibly Jacob was in Egypt and doing his thing, helping out and being I know Joseph was in Egypt, sorry, and he was basically helping his brothers out in time of drought, and kind of was sent there ahead by God. And reading this commentary, modern Bible, I got through it all, and it was pretty amazing. And it'd be awesome if I could read it again. But there's 4 more I'm going to try and read. But I really think I'm going to start concentrating more on doing some
getting into some of these personalities that are explained in the Rancher book. So I'll probably hit into that some, and next stuff you'll see is going to be more personalities and their natures and what's explained and what I can put together and have out here, because I like seeing it out more on the paper. It gives me better visuals and helps me put things together, seeing the numbers and trying to overlap. And one source I got, this ancient Bible over here, it's old, I've got it pinpointed to like 1890s, but it's information, there's been new discoveries, so there's some of the stuff's outdated, and they did a pretty good job of trying to guess, and other things get, mixed up, but they do pretty good, and it's got some explanations. Some of the books have different dates for like the Exodus and whatever, how it all adds up, but I haven't quite got through the whole archaeological supplement of this Thomas Chain Bible. I'm in the E's basically, so I tell you I'm not that far along, but it's pretty cool. I had to bring out this timeline because there's so much stuff going on in the last second couple of millennia BC, and just wanted to kind of spread it out, see what I could learn, and if Ephesus, it's a place where Paul preached, and it has a start actually like even farther back to like the 8th century. I guess I didn't get that written in there, but it's pretty cool to be doing this stuff in my eyes, and learning stuff, and just gonna probably in this video here soon, because I gotta show you guys this new drawing I did of the universe, basically the master universe. So we'll get to there in a little bit, but these are just controversial years that I haven't quite pinpointed. There might be new evidence I haven't come across that does pinpoint it better, but it's interesting for me to think about the history of what men have put down in books about what God's relationship is to men, and how they've interpreted things, and how so much can be so right on in how I feel, and how some can be just so off, and the conflict, of interest comes when, says, well, God was with us when we smote all these people and killed them and whatnot. And to me, that's, kind of opposite of what I think God's about, and showing favor to some campaigning army, or conquest of men, to me is more men's free will and wanting to be gods themselves, and not doing what God's doing, is mostly just putting out the love vibes, and even sending his own son down to reveal what he's about more so, and that's when men should have learned a lot better than what they have, about how the Father's all about love, and not fighting, and getting along, and Jesus preached this spiritual kingdom, and the unity is in the hearts of men, and it might be the mind a conduit to get there, but it's really a spiritual unity through the hearts. And once you understand that love is basically an essence of God, or one of the best qualities of God, or natures of God, or however you want to say it, to the point where he tries to reach us by not just letting us live in his presence, but also sending revealed sons, and things get out of whack with some of the heavenly rulers, and that's where people get confused on God's love versus wrath. And I don't know how it's all gonna come out and play, and what if is God's wrath, as far as if he's assigned it to these ancient of days that were the first personalities of the super universes, and it says there it's how they're registered on Uversa in their records, that ancient of days is the first personality you see. But that's just what I explained about the calendar day, one day in a year. And anyway, I'll get off here, and I'm gonna revamp to this Now here's this map. You gotta see this. Just kind of put in there, but for everything I'm going at, Persian Gulf area, and then the whole Fertile Crescent area. I guess they actually call it down here more Fertile Crescent, but you can kind of get an idea what this is all about. Ancient time, or that's now in ancient time. But some of these cities, I don't have all this down, but it's really cool. And getting it there and learning, and I love learning, and it's just progress, and it's not all just mental. There's always a new day and new growth, and it's always to reflect and think about what you did today, and if anything was better than days before, and if you're getting somewhere progress or you're stuck in a rut, then maybe it's time to look inside and be like, hey, do some praying and searching, and be surprised what you might find. Really, you really will. It's got to be an effort there, and it may not just be something that happens overnight or while you're sitting there, but I kind of understand a lot more of what is in the prophets talking about and hidden lingo and whatever, and it's love in there so much, and it's a different love than I felt from people, and it's not so different really, but it's just like I can go and put my head in the closet and just be like, hey God, are you there? And it's that feeling that's still there, and I'm loving it, and not trying to be arrogant or narcissistic, but I just want to tell people that it's so real, and I know I'm not crazy, and that's always people say, oh, I could be debatable, but if you want to put some tests in front of me, I'll sure take them and see how well we do. But for sure. Anyway, I got some more drawings, and we'll revamp on existence, and see some more of that here probably in a little bit. But yeah, getting that Abraham pinpointed to me, it's got to be within that second millennia, definitely closer to 2000 BC. It's got to be within that time period if you believe your ancient book, which I've read it, and I'm going to rereading it again, and I've read 100 pages, but I'm going to go in that direction, because that feeling I get just intensifies when I read it, and going there, and I want to get back down to the beginning of this timeline that I started, and get to those personalities I got listed out there. You might see in one of the other videos, but there's a whole bunch to learn there too that I haven't quite got down very well at all, but hoping to get there. And it's nice having people to talk to and go a little bit more as time, and responses are always great, and don't be afraid to put your comments out there, and it's no biggie if you do or don't. Really, I'll try and go back and read them. Won't always get there, but I might see one, I'll probably respond to it, but that's no big deal. It's just interesting to talk, and sometimes hard to do that face to face with people, and I'm getting that to that point where I think that's going to be easier for me, and I do talk to people and tell them about certain things, but it's always the approach and the tact, and I feel like here it's more of a blanking effect where I don't have to be so tactful, and your approach can be pretty much, here, take or leave it. You can watch this or not, and you might gain something from it, and I hope you do. And I definitely know that it's not something we all just have to take on ourselves. We can definitely look to other people and ask them, and share, and not everyone is gonna know. You got to start somewhere, and it's amazing how my cousin and I kind of made this journey together, and I'm hoping that this is just the start, and this journey is something that just going to get better and newer and just more amazing as time goes by, to the point maybe time won't even be a factor in our journey, and we'll be like, all right, what do we want to do today, or what are we going to do today, what can we do today, what are we allowed to do today, and that's the amazing thing, is just wanting to serve and good, and be good, and try not to add to the negative, and just have the good vibes. All right, peace out, guys. I love you all, and I'll get to another video sent out for sure. All right, see you.